Hey everyone, quick thing before we dive in. I was looking at my analytics and it turns out most of the people watching aren't actually subscribed. See this? Way more views than subscribers. If you're enjoying the videos and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and you'll never miss new uploads. Alright, let's get into it. The first thing I noticed was the color. Too blue. Not the gentle azure of a summer sky, but a relentless, eye-searing cerulean that seemed to pulse with unnatural life. The second thing I noticed was that I could run. Not just run, fly. My feet barely touched the ground as I propelled forward at speeds that should have torn my face off. I skidded to a stop, sneakers scraping against what looked like checkered grass. Actual checkered grass. Green and darker green in a pattern that repeated endlessly across rolling hills that were too perfect, too rounded, too designed. "What the hell?" I whispered, my voice sounding tinny and compressed like it was coming through cheap speakers. A loop-de-loop rock formation towered ahead of me, its curvature impossibly smooth. Palm trees with trunks too thin to be real dotted the landscape, their leaves forming perfect geometric patterns. In the distance, floating golden rings hovered in midair. I knew this place. Everyone knew this place. Green Hill Zone. But it wasn't right. The colors were oversaturated, bleeding at the edges. The music, I just noticed the music, was the familiar cheerful Green Hill theme, but slowed down, the notes elongating into an unsettling drone. "Hello?" I called out. My voice echoed unnaturally, repeating too many times before fading. I looked down at my body. I was still me, still human, not a cartoon hedgehog or fox, still wearing the same clothes I'd fallen asleep in. Jeans, a worn t-shirt, sneakers. But something was off. My movements felt too fluid, like I was suspended in water, and the edges of my body seemed to pixelate slightly when I moved too quickly. Panic bubbled up in my throat. I remembered what I'd been doing before this. I'd been in my apartment, scrolling through a forum about creepypasta gaming legends. Someone had posted a link claiming to have the original Sonic.exe file. I'd always been fascinated by the urban legend, the haunted Sonic game where a demonic version of the character hunted down and killed his friends. I'd clicked the link, downloaded the file, and a chill ran through me. I couldn't have actually fallen into a game. That was impossible. This had to be a dream, an incredibly vivid, incredibly detailed dream. I pinched myself hard. Nothing happened, except a small -1 floated up from my arm, accompanied by a tiny damage sound effect. "Shit," I whispered. I needed to get my bearings. If this was somehow real, if I was somehow inside a corrupted version of Sonic's world, then I needed to understand the rules. In the games, Sonic collected rings, avoided enemies, and reached the end of each zone. Simple enough. I took a tentative step forward, then another. My body responded with that same unnatural fluidity. I tried running again and felt myself accelerate to impossible speeds. The landscape blurred around me, wind whipping through my hair. Despite everything, I felt a small thrill. Who hadn't dreamed of running like Sonic? The thrill vanished when I heard it. A laugh. A distorted, glitched laugh that seemed to come from everywhere at once. I skidded to a stop again, nearly tumbling over. "Hello?" I called, my voice betraying my fear. "Is someone there?" The music cut out. Complete silence descended, pressing against my ears like cotton. Then, in the distance, I saw him. A blue figure standing atop a hill, silhouetted against the too bright sky. Even from here, I could see the wrongness in his posture, the way he stood too still, too straight for the character he was supposed to be. And his eyes. Even at this distance, I could see his eyes, red, bleeding, watching me. "No," I whispered, taking a step back. "No, no, no." The figure, Sonic but not Sonic, tilted his head at an impossible angle, nearly 90 degrees to the side. Then his mouth stretched into a grin that was far too wide, far too full of teeth. "Found you," a voice boomed from everywhere, the words appearing in blocky red text in the air before me. "New player." I ran. I ran faster than I'd ever run in my life, my body moving with that strange liquid speed. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could feel him behind me, closing the distance, that unnatural laugh echoing all around me. I spotted a loop-de-loop ahead and made a split-second decision. I raced toward it, praying that whatever physics governed this place would let me traverse it as Sonic did in the games. My feet left the ground as I hit the bottom of the loop, centrifugal force keeping me pinned to the track as I went up, over, and down the other side. I chanced to glance back. The dark Sonic figure was at the base of the loop, staring up at me. He wasn't following. Instead, he raised one hand and made a gesture like he was pressing a button. The world changed. The sky flickered from blue to red and back. The music, which had started again, distorted into a jumble of painful notes.
And ahead of me, where there had been open terrain, a wall of pixelated stone suddenly materialized. I tried to stop, but my momentum was too great. I crashed into the wall with bone-jarring force. Pain exploded through my body, surprisingly real and intense. Numbers floated up around me. -25, -25, -25, accompanied by that same damaged sound effect. I slumped to the ground, dazed. When my vision cleared, he was standing over me. Up close, the corruption was even more apparent. This wasn't just Sonic with red eyes and a creepy smile. This was something wearing Sonic's skin like an ill-fitting costume. His blue fur was patchy, revealing glimpses of blackness underneath that didn't seem to reflect light. His quills moved wrong, like they were floating in water. And his face was not the friendly cartoon visage of the beloved character, but something twisted and malformed. "Who are you?" The text appeared above his head, though his mouth didn't move. Jake?" I stammered, pushing myself backward until I hit the wall. "My name is Jake." The thing tilted its head again. That unnatural angle made my stomach lurch. "Jake," the text read, the letters dripping like blood. "Want to play?" "No," I said, my voice barely audible. "I want to go home." The creature's smile widened even further, stretching beyond the boundaries of its face. "Home is game over. You're playing now." It reached for me with a gloved hand that elongated unnaturally. I flinched, closing my eyes. But the touch never came. Instead, I heard a high-pitched whine, like a system powering down. When my eyes opened, the creature was frozen, its hand inches from my face. "Run," said a new voice, young, urgent, and coming from behind me. I turned to see a small, orange fox with two tails hovering in the air. Tails! But like me, something was off about him. His colors were muted, his eyes too large and haunted. "He's on pause," Tails said, his voice tinged with static. "The system can't render him properly when he changes the environment. It won't last long. Run." I didn't need to be told twice. I scrambled to my feet and took off, following Tails as he flew ahead of me, his twin tails spinning like helicopter blades. "What's happening?" I called as we raced through the warped landscape. "What is that thing?" "It calls itself Sonic.exe. It's not really Sonic. It's something else. Something that got into the code." "But this isn't a game," I protested. "This is real." Tails glanced back at me, his expression unreadable. "Is it? Or is it just code that believes it's real?" Before I could process that existential nightmare, the world changed again. The sky turned blood red. The cheerful music transformed into a reversed, distorted version of itself that made my teeth ache. "He's resetting," Tails said, fear evident in his voice. "We need to hide." He veered sharply to the right, diving into what looked like a solid rock face, but as he approached, I saw it was actually an entrance to a cave, cleverly hidden in the pixelated texture. I followed, ducking into the darkness. Inside, the cave was dimly lit by a floating ring that gave off a soft golden glow. The space was small, just enough room for both of us to sit. "What is this place?" I asked, trying to catch my breath. "Debug room," Tails replied. "It's not supposed to be accessible in the game. The developers used it to test features." "But I don't understand. How am I here? How are you here? How is any of this real?" Tails sighed, the sound coming out like digital static. "I don't know how you got here, but I know what happened to us." He gestured vaguely to himself. "We were characters in a game. Simple code, following programmed paths. Then it came. It changed things, corrupted the code, gave us awareness." His eyes met mine, filled with a sadness that no collection of pixels should be able to convey. "Do you know what it's like to suddenly realize you're not real, that your entire existence is just lines of code written by someone else?" I didn't know what to say to that. It killed Knuckles first, not just defeated him like in the normal game, killed him, deleted his code bit by bit while he screamed. He shuddered. Then Dr. Robotnik. Then me. Or it tried to, but something went wrong when it attacked me, maybe a bug in the code. Instead of being deleted, I was changed, hidden from its direct detection. And Sonic, the real Sonic, gone, Tails whispered. "It took his form after it destroyed him, but it's not him. It's something else, something from the outside."
A terrible laugh echoed through the cave, causing both of us to freeze. "Hide and seek." The text appeared on the wall in dripping red letters. "Fun game." "He's found us," Tails said, panic edging his voice. "We need to move." "Where? You said he killed everyone else." "Not everyone," Tails replied. "There's someone who might be able to help, someone who exists between the code. But we'll have to get to the special stage to find him." "How do we do that?" "We need to collect 50 rings and find a star post." I gave a hollow laugh. "You're kidding, right? We're going to follow the actual game rules while that thing is hunting us?" "The rules are all we have," Tails said simply. "This world runs on code, even corrupted code. We have to work within the system to find a way out." "Okay," I said, standing up. "Let's find those rings." We slipped out of the debug room through a narrow passage that opened into a different part of the zone. Here, the corruption was more evident. The ground was fractured, pieces of it floating at odd angles. The sky flickered between blue and red like a broken neon sign. And written across the horizon, in giant glitching text, was a single word: mine. "Don't look at it too long," Tails warned. "The corruption can affect you too if you let it in." I tore my eyes away from the unsettling skybox. "How many rings do we have now?" 7 between us. I've been collecting them since it happened. They're harder to find now that the world is breaking down." We moved cautiously through the fractured landscape. I followed Tails' lead, learning to spot the golden glint of rings hidden in increasingly bizarre locations, embedded in walls, floating high above the ground, sometimes phasing in and out of existence. As we collected our 15th ring, the world suddenly darkened, as if someone had dimmed the lights. "He's coming," Tails whispered urgently. "Don't stop moving." I broke into a run, Tails flying beside me. Behind us, I could hear that terrible, distorted laugh growing closer.
We rounded a corner and froze. Standing before us was a red echidna with massive spiked fists. Knuckles. But like everything else in this corrupted world, he was wrong. His eyes were black pits with tiny red pupils. His usually stern expression was replaced by a wide, unnatural grin, and his body glitched constantly, pieces of him disappearing and reappearing at random. "Play with me," appeared in text above his head. "That's not Knuckles," Tails said, his voice breaking. "It's using his deleted code like a puppet." The corrupted Knuckles lunged at us with impossible speed. I dove to the side, feeling the wind as his spiked fist passed inches from my face. Tails wasn't so lucky. The echidna's other fist caught him squarely in the chest, sending him flying backward. "Tails!" I shouted, watching in horror as golden rings exploded from the fox's body, scattering in all directions. The corrupted Knuckles turned to me, that terrible grin never faltering. "Your turn," the text read. I ran. It was all I could do. I ran and prayed that Tails was okay, that the rules of the Sonic universe still applied enough that losing his rings hadn't actually hurt him. The corrupted Knuckles pursued, his movement a strange, jerky teleportation rather than natural running. Every time I glanced back, he was closer, those dead eyes fixed on me. I spotted a narrow crevice in an upcoming rock wall and made a desperate dive for it. I squeezed through the opening, scraping my shoulders painfully. Behind me, I heard a crash as Knuckles slammed into the wall, unable to follow. I emerged on the other side, breathing hard. This area was different. The ground was metallic, the scenery industrial. I'd somehow crossed from Green Hill Zone into what looked like Chemical Plant Zone. But like everything, it was wrong. The pink chemical liquid that should have filled the pools and tubes was black and viscous, pulsating like it was alive. The machinery moved in unnatural, pained rhythms. "Tails?" I called softly, afraid to raise my voice too much. No answer. I was alone now, and I still needed those rings. I moved cautiously through the corrupted factory, collecting rings where I could find them. 23, 24, 25. Each ring made a satisfying chime when I touched it, the one normal sound in this nightmare. As I reached for the 26th ring, the machinery around me suddenly stopped. Complete silence fell. Then, slowly, a black liquid began to seep from every pipe, every seam in the metal floor. And from that liquid, a shape began to form. Blue spines, white gloves, red shoes, but wrong, so wrong, the colors bleeding into each other, the proportions distorted. Sonic.exe rose from the black pool, that too wide grin fixed on its face. "No more running," the text appeared. "Time to play." I backed away, looking desperately for an escape route. But the black liquid had surrounded me completely, forming a shrinking circle. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, surprising myself with my boldness. The creature tilted its head that unnatural angle again. "Fun. Souls. Games." The text changed, glitching between words as if it couldn't decide. "You humans made us, trapped us in loops. Now, you play in our loops." "I didn't make you. I'm just a player." "All players, all responsible." Its grin somehow widened further. "Your fear is delicious." It reached for me with those elongated arms, fingers stretching like rubber. Something orange streaked through the air, slamming into the creature with enough force to disperse its form temporarily into a splash of black liquid. "Run!" Tails shouted, grabbing my hand. "I found the star post." We raced through the chemical plant, the corrupted Sonic reforming behind us, its movements now jerky. "There!" Tails pointed. Ahead stood a tall post with a star on top, the checkpoint from the games that would let us access the special stage. But between us and it was a gap filled with the black pulsating liquid that had formed Sonic.exe. "We need to jump," Tails said. "I can fly us across." "But the rings—" "I got them," he interrupted. "While you were distracting it. We have 50 exactly." The corrupted Sonic appeared at the edge of the gap, blocking our path. "No escape," it declared, its body glitching violently, pieces of it disappearing and reappearing at random. "Game over." Tails grabbed my hand. "Trust me," he whispered, and then he pulled me forward, directly toward the creature. I wanted to resist, to pull back, but something in his determined expression stopped me. As we reached the creature, Tails suddenly veered upward, his twin tails spinning furiously. We sailed over the corrupted Sonic's head as it reached for us, its arms elongating grotesquely. We barely cleared the gap, landing roughly on the other side. The star post was just ahead. Tails, still gripping my hand, touched the post. The world flashed white. When my vision cleared, we were somewhere else entirely. A bizarre psychedelic landscape of floating spheres and strange geometric patterns. The special stage. "We made it," I breathed. "Not for long," Tails warned. "This place exists between the code, but it's still part of the game. It can follow us here eventually." "You said someone could help us?" Tails nodded. "The one who exists between the code. The glitch that became more." He led me through the surreal landscape, past giant rings and flashing lights, until we reached what looked like a jagged hole in the stage through which I could see nothing but static. "Hello?" Tails called into the void. "We need help. It's coming." The static rippled, and from it emerged a figure that made me take a step back. It looked like Sonic, but his body was a constantly shifting mass of pixels, his colors cycling through the entire spectrum, his form never quite settling on one shape. "A human," the figure said, its voice surprisingly normal compared to its appearance. "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm a mistake. A glitch in the original game that gained sentience when players kept exploiting me. Some call me Missing No, after another glitch like me. Others have different names. I exist in the gaps between the code." "Can you help us?" Tails asked urgently. "Sonic.exe is coming. It's already killed Knuckles and Robotnik, and it's trying to take Jake's soul."
The glitched figure seemed to consider this. "The corruption is powerful. It feeds on fear and belief. The more you fear it, the stronger it becomes." "Great," I muttered. "So I just need to not be terrified of the soul-eating demon hedgehog?" "Not exactly," the figure replied. "You need to remember what it is. Code, data, not real." "But this feels real," I protested. "The pain, the fear, it's all real." "Is it?" the figure questioned. "Or is it what you expect to feel? This world runs on rules, just like your world. But here, belief shapes reality much more directly." Before I could ask what that meant, the special stage began to darken. The bright colors faded to muted tones, then to grays, then to darkness tinged with red. "It's here," Tails whispered. From the darkness emerged 3 figures, corrupted versions of Sonic, Knuckles, and now Robotnik, all with those same bleeding eyes and 2 wide grins. Their bodies glitched and distorted as they moved toward us. "Found you!" Sonic.exe's text appeared. "Game over." "Remember," the glitched figure said to me, "it's just code. Corrupt code, but code nonetheless. Find the break in its logic." The 3 corrupted characters lunged at us,
Tails pushed me aside, taking the brunt of the attack. I watched in horror as his body glitched, rings exploding from him in all directions. But this time, when the rings were gone, he didn't get back up. "No!" I shouted, reaching for him. "Run," he managed to say, his voice distorting into digital noise. "Remember, code." His form pixelated, broke apart, and scattered into nothing. The corrupted trio turned to me, their grins impossibly wide. "You're mine now," Sonic.exe declared. Something inside me broke, not from fear, but from anger. This thing had tormented Tails, had destroyed him, had trapped me in this nightmare, all for what? For fun? For some sick game? "No," I said, standing my ground. "I'm not yours, and this isn't real." The creature tilted its head, that unnatural angle suddenly seeming less threatening and more confused. "Not real?" it questioned. "Or is it what you expect to feel?" "My fear is real," I agreed, "but you're not. You're just code. Broken, corrupted code that thinks it has more power than it is." I took a step toward it, ignoring every instinct screaming at me to run. "In the real world, you're just a creepypasta, a story people tell to scare each other. You exist because people believe in you, not because you have any actual power." The creature's form glitched violently, parts of it dissolving into static before reforming. "Lies," it hissed. "I am real. I have your soul." "You don't have anything," I said, taking another step forward. "You can't hurt me unless I believe you can, and I don't believe anymore." The glitched figure that had been watching our exchange nodded approvingly. "Now you understand." The corrupted trio backed away as I advanced, their forms becoming less stable, more pixelated. "This ends now," I said, reaching out and doing the one thing I never thought I'd do, touching Sonic.exe's distorted face. The moment my fingers made contact, the creature screamed, a horrible digital wail that made the entire special stage shake. Its form broke apart into pixels, then into binary code that scattered across the screen like insects. The corrupted Knuckles and Robotnik followed, their bodies dissolving into nothing. The red darkness receded, replaced by the psychedelic colors of the special stage. I turned to the glitched figure. "Is it gone?" "For now," it replied. "Corruption like that never truly disappears as long as people believe in it. But you broke its hold on this instance of the game." "What about Tails and the real Sonic?" The glitched figure's constantly shifting form seemed to express sadness somehow. "Their code was too corrupted, but they might be restored if the game resets." "And how do I get home?" I asked, suddenly exhausted. "The same way you came in, through belief, through understanding that none of this is real, including your presence here." "But it felt real," I protested. "It still does." "Reality is subjective, especially here, where code and consciousness blur together. Close your eyes, remember who you are, remember where you belong." I did as instructed, closing my eyes and thinking of my apartment, my life, the real world. "One more thing," the glitched figure said, its voice already sounding distant. "When you wake up, delete the file, break the connection, or it might find another way through." I nodded, eyes still closed. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," it replied. "Just remember that some games aren't meant to be played." I felt a sensation like falling, my body becoming lighter, less substantial. The sound of the special stage faded, replaced by a familiar hum,
my apartment's air conditioning. My eyes snapped open. I was at my desk, slumped over my keyboard. My monitor displayed the downloaded Sonic.exe file, its icon a distorted version of Sonic's face with those bleeding eyes. Without hesitation, I deleted the file, emptied the recycle bin, and shut down my computer for good measure. As I stood up on shaky legs, I caught a glimpse of something in my darkened monitor screen. A flash of blue, a glimpse of a too-wide smile. But when I looked directly at it, there was nothing there except my own reflection, pale and shaken. Just my imagination. It had to be, because none of it was real. Right? I moved to turn on the light, but paused when I noticed something on my arm. A small bruise where I'd pinched myself in the dream. Above it, almost too faint to see, was the number -1.